All right. Who wants to tell me some good news from the weekend? Who had a great real estate conversation with somebody? Who maybe added a couple people to their database? Who maybe hosted a successful open house? Who practiced their presentations or practiced their scripts or something? Who got some stuff done this weekend?
I got two new potential clients. Well, I guess, and I got one during the week that are looking to purchase. So I guess that's a total of 3 that I've spoken to that are looking to purchase.
Nice. Okay. Very good. Very good. And the week before that, you had like 6 appointments. So we'll connect a little later to see how many of those actually got signed yet. So that'll give you a ton of momentum. That is awesome. Awesome
Thanks.
job. Mindy, great to see you. Joe, great to see you too. Well, Melissa and Ryan and Candace, great to see you, but somebody else share some good news.
I mean, for me, I added one new client. My hairdresser, I've always been really supportive of her, and she was very excited to hear that I'm finally doing this. So
awesome. Awesome. You know, the hairdressers are some of the best people to have in your database, because the hairdressers know everybody in town. They know who's got a new job, who's quitting, who got fired, who's coupling up with who's coming into town, who's leaving town. They know everybody.
My best friend in New York was my hairdresser, and when anything I needed to know, I went to her for it, and she knew it.
Yeah, they're the gossipers of town, so beware of that. But they can also hook you up with some a lot of opportunity. Okay, one more, and then we'll move right in. Who wants to share some positive news from the weekend? Nobody had positive news? Come on, let's start the week off with some energy, y'all. Michael, no energy?
You know, I've got a lot of energy, but it's not positive, so I'm going to pass.
Okay, all right, let's move on. Well, I know I can count on Ebony for some positive energy. All right, Ebony, share something about the weekend that was cool. Get us all excited today. Man, this is tough this morning, y'all. Is there anybody that's willing to turn on their video today? This is a video chatting. Michael, I know. Platform. Does anyone want to turn on their video?
I'm taking a pass today, Bill, for obvious reasons.
Yes, Candace is not feeling well.
I caught that cold that's going around.
I'm sorry to hear that.
This is a little hard to focus when you can't see me, right?
Yeah.
Is this a little less fun?
I agree with that.
Okay, that's what I'm dealing with, you guys. Come on now.
I will. I'm just trying to drive.
Okay, no video if you're driving, but by this time we should be sitting at our work desk ready to get started, right? Okay, let's talk for a second about the 6 personal perspectives. I'll give you a tiny bit of.
Sorry, I'm driving.
What's that?
I said, sorry, I'm driving right now.
Okay. We will give you a little bit of background on the 6 personal perspectives. So when Gary Keller was starting Keller Williams back in the mid-'80s, early to mid-'80s, when he was trying to attract, when he was growing it, right? When he was trying to, share with people what KW was all about and go get some people to join his organization, what he did is he would rent a little space in like a hotel, conference room or whatever, like not at his office, but like another place, a kind of a neutral ground, if you will. And he would invite agents from all over town, and this is the curriculum he would teach. Okay, the 6 personal perspectives. And as you'll see, because we're going to focus on it all week, there's not a ton of like real estate stuff, right? He wasn't teaching people how to take listings. He was teaching people how to think. And Gary Keller says that leadership is teaching people how to think so that they can get what they want when they want it, right? Because let's just say Mindy might have one kind of an idea of what the perfect real estate business would look like. Melissa may have a totally different vision for herself and for her family on what is success for her, right? We're not here to say one's right and one's not right. We're here to say, let's cement that or clarify that vision so you guys know what appropriate action steps to take. Is that fair? Okay, so Gary Keller says the 6 personal perspectives is, he was asking the following question. He said, what is it that differentiates those who achieve at the highest level from those who do not seem to accomplish much? And after thoroughly researching this question, he discovered that all high achievers have 3 basic attributes in common. Does anyone want to take a guess what those are?
They start early in the morning.
I would bet that that's probably in the top 10, but it's not in the top 3.
Commitment.
That's very close to one of them.
Knowledge, perseverance.
They stay.
Yep, that's very close to one of them too. What was the last one you said, Kira?
They stay contacting their database, prospecting.
Yeah, so I'm kind of more 30,000 foot view. I'll go ahead and tell you. So mindset, okay, attitudes, which you guys were very close to, and their approach to life. Okay, so mindset is key. Gary said when you interview the very top people and ask them what their biggest challenge is, they invariably will tell you that it is mindset. Keeping it strong, focused, and positive amid the many challenges that they encounter every day on their way to the top. Gary continues, life is an inside to outside experience. When you get this at a deep level, you realize that who you are inside determines and drives what you are outside. The very best achievers know this and therefore truly work on and protect their mindset. Okay. Their
Yeah,
mindset.
and that means it means that if we don't actively feed our mindset every day in a positive way by listening to books, by listening to videos, motivational videos or informational videos like TED Talks, if we don't consciously feed our mindset every day, meditation, there's so many ways we are allowing into our minds what other people want us to think. And I use the news as a common example of that, but that I can't tell you the phone calls I get from my family that are all fear-based because of something they heard on the news. And it doesn't faze me because I know what the news is about. So I can't emphasize that enough, that every time you're in the car, listen to something positive that will lift you up, that will help you learn.
Yeah, I love the way you said that. That is, it kind of reminds me of this idea of back to one of my favorite words, which is control, right? If you start your day and you're intentional about how you're going to spend your minutes and who you're going to associate with and what you're going to put into your brain, then you'll work on your priorities, right? If you don't have very clear priorities for your day and for your time, you are basically allowing yourself to, you'll be pinged around all day working in other people's priorities. Does that make sense? Because if you're sitting at your work desk and you don't really know what you should be focused on at that moment, then you'll go to where other people want your attention, which is email, texting, WhatsApp, the news, Facebook scrolling, these kind of things. So throughout the day, I want you guys to get into the habit of saying, is this activity that I'm currently doing at this very moment, is this an intentional activity that's going to take my real estate business to the next level? Or am I living somebody else's world at this moment? Am I pursuing somebody else's goals right now? Go ahead, Candace.
I also love this. When I knew you were going to do this, I started researching about self-mastery in real estate, and it says self-mastery means always taking an active approach in life, being a performer rather than a spectator. I love that.
Yes, very much so. Right. A spectator, you're like along for the ride, whatever happens. You're just watching from the sidelines. Right. A much more purposeful approach is to say, hey, this is how I want it to be. And I kind of want it to look like that. So let me go study how that happened. And then it can likely happen to me too. Right. There's many months ago, I showed you guys a video of a guy named Rick Elias. He was on the plane. You remember a few years ago when that plane went down on the Hudson, right? It took off in New York, and the pilot, who then became pretty famous, landed the plane in the Hudson.
Yeah.
Okay, so they interviewed the guy who was in seat 1A, right? Like probably the first one who probably would have died, right? And he says, that experience understandably changed my perspective about life forever. He said, I no longer wanted to postpone anything in life. That urgency, that purpose has really changed everything, right? So sometimes like we wait until we're having like some kind of like, some health crisis to do something about our health, right? Or some business crisis to do something about our business. We don't need to do that, y'all. We don't need to go down into the depths to start having success. Okay, so one thing, hang on just 1 second. Okay, so committing to self-mastery, here's the definition of self-mastery. I'm sorry, 6 personal perspectives. The first one is self-mastery, or committing to self-mastery. So let's talk about that one for a second. Okay, self-mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that makes you the master of you. High achievers understand that before they can pursue mastery of any endeavor they need to choose to undertake, they must commit to pursuing a baseline of self-mastery that once attained will allow them to master other things outside of themselves. So when you commit to achieving self-mastery, you, number one, know your goals. So just take an internal second to ask yourself, am I clear on my goals? Right? Number two, know your strengths and weaknesses. Number three, know how to work with both your strengths and weaknesses to seek and master the necessary knowledge, skills, and habits to reach your goals. Mastery is the possession of great knowledge, skills, and habits that make one a master of a particular subject. Okay, so a lot of times what will happen is we try to, we take stock of what our strengths are, then we take stock of what our weaknesses are, and then we spend all of our time trying to fix our weaknesses. And there's some psychology out there that basically says you should do exactly the opposite, which is identify your strengths and then get really, really, really good at that stuff. Okay. And then the weaknesses, you say to yourself, is there somebody else or some piece of technology that can do this? Or can I hire this out? Right? So if you really don't like doing the paperwork for a transaction, rather than spending a week trying to master DocuSign and compliance, maybe you can just have somebody else do it, right? And that will free up enough time for you to go find another person. I'll give you a slight little sneak peek at something that we are putting the finishing touches on behind the scenes right now. But I am essentially in final negotiations with a incredibly smart, wicked smart guy who used to be at our company for a number of years. And we are in the final stages of agreeing to a contract to close / putting listings in, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the admin to stay compliant with the office on the back end, pay it closes, and getting listings in and all optimizing them on all the websites and all that kind of stuff, creating flyers and all that. We are working on, all of you guys can pay for that separately, right? We are gonna hopefully bring it to you at a significant discount, okay, from being engaged in productivity coaching. So be on the lookout for that. That's a little sidebar right now, but Candace and I are
Very
working.
exciting.
Candace and I are, and a few others are working really hard to make that happen. Okay. What have you guys heard so far?
I think that partly is you really need to know your strengths and your weaknesses, but focus on those strengths. And if you have weaknesses that you just can't, sometimes you can't ignore them because it's a skill you need, but then find someone else to do it. And there's a book or I had to take a whole course in actually, but there's a book called Strengths Finder.
Yes.
And I think you can there's a huge test that costs a lot of money, but I think if you get the book, you can take like a mini test and it kind of gives you your 5 top strengths and your 5 weaknesses. But I took that years ago and I've never forgotten, because that really helped guide everything I do in life, from just your daily stuff to work. And I thought that was great.
Can I put you on the spot for a second?
Sure.
So how does that come up in your typical work day or work week? How does that trickle down into that? What have you clarified or learned because of that experience?
Well, I remember my top strength was achiever. And so part of that was an achiever, you have to get things done and you need the satisfaction of seeing things crossed off your list. But it's a fire that lasts temporarily and then it goes away and you have to replace it constantly. So you have to have big goals and you have to have little goals. You have to be achieving all the time.
Yes.
In your work life and your home life, you probably have a house list, you have a kids list, you have you always need to be achieving, and that's what helps pump you and keep you going.
That's right. That's right. Can you think of one of your weaknesses that you have kind of made progress on, so to speak?
Yes, it was one of it's become a joke in the family, but it's compassion. And it's not that I don't care, it's just that and I think it played into the strengths. I don't need the constant lovey-doveyness, and so I sometimes don't give it.
Right.
And so that was something I had to work on, was being more compassionate towards people, not because I didn't care, but I just wasn't expressing it well.
Yeah, that's actually my personality is fairly similar to yours, or at least both of the things you just described. And it's kind of let's say I called Melissa today, and the intention of the call was just to catch up on something, right? And she's like, hello, and I'm like, all right, this is what we're gonna do today, right? And she's like, well, wait, how was your weekend? Did you do anything fun with the family? What'd you guys have for dinner last night? I'm not saying that's what Melissa would say, but I don't necessarily need that part of the interaction, but we have to understand that the listener probably does, right? And that's an identity, we may not realize that, but we may be missing opportunities to create rapport or to build relationships when we just zoom right through whatever we're trying to do because of our personality, right? So I have to remind myself, hey, ask about the weekend. Hey, ask about the weekend. It's not that I don't care. It's just that when it's work time, I'm all about work. And when it's not work time, I'm all about not work.
Ryan, I love that you brought up strength finders, because I was looking at tips for self-mastery, and the very first one is know yourself well, very well. And Bill brought that up too. And I think, strength finders is an excellent way to do that. I read that book years ago and I'd forgotten about it. So I'm glad you brought that up.
So thank you for adding that. So one thing, let's say that the strength finders said, for example, that you're not, or like, let's say you've realized you're not good at presenting, or maybe you're not good at like speaking in front of a room or something like that, right? I would say, at least in this stage of your business, you got to figure that part out. You're not going to be able to outsource that one, right? You're going to have to say to yourself, hey, that is probably one of the most important skills that I'm going to have as a growing business owner. And I need to become a master of that skill. So you have to take some intentionality around that, because now you've identified that it's a critical skill for your job, right? And then you might say to yourself, how am I going to get more? How am I going to get better at this, right? How am I going to get more practice? How am I going to get more comfortable with this? And you might have to say to yourself, hey, I got to do something about it today, right? So what am I going to do about it today? Right? Maybe today is just watching a video on overcoming the fear of public speaking, right? Or overcoming the fear of making presentations. So you guys see what I'm saying? Hey, Trent.
Hey, what's up?
Did you get my message earlier?
Yeah, I just saw it actually. Sorry, I was on a phone call. That's why I'm late.
That's cool. I'm going to put you on the spot then.
Love
So
that.
I just gotta give this man some props here. Okay. He is committed in a way that I haven't seen in a long time to building his business. This man is, failure is not an option. Well, let me rephrase that. Laying down after you fail is not an option. He's failing plenty, right? Just like all of us should be. But one thing I've admired about you, Trent, is you are committed to self-mastery. Okay, we're talking about one of the 6 personal perspectives. And let's try to put a real estate spin on this right now. So Trent, when 6 months ago, you didn't know anything about real estate, right?
I was still doing my pre-licensing course.
A year ago, you didn't know anything about real estate, right?
Not a lick, except houses look nice. That's about it.
Okay. And as you went through school and you started to get in relationship with people here and Dustin and the rest of them, walk me through your mindset with respect to going from, I don't know anything about how to be successful, to where you are today. Because I walk in your office and you've got scripts printed out all the way around your office. You are on the phone constantly. You're putting up triple digits just about every single week on the reporting page. Walk me through that kind of evolution of self-mastery, because I got to tell you, if everyone was working as hard as Trent, man, we would be, I mean, our numbers would just be incredible. All right, Trent, give us a little insight into your brain, please.
Okay, sure thing. So I've just always been a very determined person, played sports all throughout school and whatnot, always been very disciplined and very, just wanted to get better always. I just didn't know exactly what that, was going to really culminate into in terms of a career field and, my future. I'm still pretty young, so I'm still 22 right now. And so it's got a crazy story. A friend of mine calls me up one day. He says, have you ever thought about getting into real estate, getting your license? And I really hadn't. So I started doing some research, realized just how lucrative the real estate business can be and how just special it is. Really, it's unlike any other industry. And then so I called up someone I knew who was a broker, asked him if he had any agents in his office that needed someone to, shadow him, be an assistant, help him out. And so I offered to work for Dustin for free for a couple of months while I was still finishing up my course, just to, learn what the real estate industry was like. And I'm not gonna lie, I give him a lot of credit. He showed me what's possible in terms of, revenue and, net revenue, and just what's possible if you just put your mind to it. If you really, it's 3 things: prospecting, lead generating, practicing your scripts, and previewing property when you start. And that's really the only 3 things I've been focusing on since I got my license and I started. And I really am starting to learn a lot more and starting to really understand the business as a whole. Obviously, joining PC has been a big help. Bill's been coaching me. I think we talk every single day about one thing or another. I'm endless with questions. Everyone that knows me well knows that I just have a lot of questions because I'm just so interested in how it works and how to become, a master at real estate. And I mean, I know Bill says that I'm this great, you know, whatever, and he's really tooting my horn right now, but I still think I have a long way to go in terms of, you know, mastering real estate sales. But that's really all it is, just endless hunger and wanting to reach that end of, you know, being, you know, they say it takes 10 years, 10,000 hours to master, and that's the goal, to reach that 10 years, that 10,000 hour mastery. And, you know, just reap the benefits whenever that comes.
I love that. Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is you do have a long way to go, as do I, as do all of you. But when we decide to have commitment, we're getting better every single day. You know, I'm going to encourage you guys to do something. So last night, I watched a little bit of the Olympics, and I watched the triathlon. Guys, did you guys watch that by chance? These guys are swimming like a mile in open water. Then they are biking like 50 miles. And then they are running like another, whatever, 10 miles or something like that. And so for an hour and 45 minutes, these people are exerting energy, like, I mean, at a level that is just beyond me. Earlier in the day, I get on a treadmill for 5 minutes and I'm like huffing and puffing, right? And I'm thinking, and it was a nice little, you know, dichotomy here. But are you willing to put up with whatever you got to put up with to become a master at what you've decided to make money with, right? You guys have all decided, however it happened, that you want to help others buy and sell property. And that's how you're going to make a living. That's your contribution right now. So you basically have a choice. Are you going to take intentionality around getting better and more confident every day? Or is that not something that's really on your radar? Right? You know, what I've found is one of the groups of people, there's probably three groups of people that tend to have some of the highest success in real estate. One of them is teachers, right? One of them is people that came from the military, and another one is athletes. And the reason why is because they have accountability, right? They're trying to get better every single day, and they're competing with their mind every single day. Can anyone else speak to that? Anybody? Anyone else want to share something they've learned today or something that's on their mind right now? Candace, I want you to mention, if you're able, a couple of things we were talking about this morning too.
About
Specifically the connection with the why.
Oh yeah. So one of the things that I see is that people are very reluctant to report numbers, and it's because the numbers aren't where we always want them to be, or it's just not a habit. But that's part of the self-mastery habit, because part of self-mastery is being held accountable, or being accountable, being willing to be accountable. And accountability, sometimes a weekly accountability isn't enough. If that's not enough to keep you hungry and to say, oh, I got to do better, because that's ultimately what accountability is. It's not to say, oh, you did or didn't do this. It's to say, don't you want to be better, and don't you want to do it better? Because that's what Trent was talking about, that hunger to know that you're reaching your potential, that you're performing the best you can do, and you're not leaving any stone unturned to get there. And so sometimes, and what I heard Trent say is that he calls Bill all the time with questions. He doesn't wait for his accountability. And that's part of that. That's part of the hunger. So I encourage you, if you're feeling like weekly accountability is not enough, just go ahead and send what you've done at the end of the day to me if you're on my one-on-ones. If daily accountability is easier for you, and then you can go back and reach over the accountability to see actually what your numbers were, in case you forgot to log them. If you do it on a daily basis, that's fine too. If you have questions and you want to reach out and you're hungry, reach out. I know some of you do that sometimes, and I love that, and I know Bill does too, because it's indicative of a fire.
That's right. That's right.
That you have.
One thing, Gene Rivers who many of you guys know. He's a master friend, or what do you call it? Master faculty, market center owner, all kinds of stuff. He's an amazing, amazing instructor and guy. And what he says is, this is a little bit more applicable to being on a team. But when people are trying to join the team, he says basically, here are the standards. If you hit these standards, you keep your job. If you do not hit these standards, you do not keep your job, right? And if you're having trouble with the standards reporting on a monthly basis, then we have to talk weekly, right? If you're having trouble hitting your standards weekly, then we have to talk daily. And if you're having trouble hitting your standards daily, we have to talk hourly, right? So how accountable to yourself are you being, right? How much time are you letting go by without having like a gut check, right? How much time are you allowing to go by without asking yourself some questions and looking for some serious answers, right? Candace put together a couple of tips for achieving self-mastery. So number one, know yourself well, very well, right? Know your personal values and principles, right? Be honest with yourself, okay? That's why we encourage you to put zeros down if you earned a zero. If you don't like reporting zeros, don't earn a zero. I mean, I know that sounds a bit harsh, but we can't pay our bills with zeros, guys, right? Let's get out there and talk to people. Number four, associate with people who practice self-discipline, right? Are you hanging out with people that go to the gym regularly, read regularly, study regularly, right? Watch what they eat, these kind of things. Avoid situations of weakness, right? If you've got an alcohol problem, quit going to the bar, right? Constantly adapt yourself. Gary Keller has a line that says, you will not be replaced by technology. However, you will be replaced by the agent who is mastering and embracing technology, right? So as the market is changing, y'all, and we're starting to prepare you guys for this, I don't think we're gonna have a flood of short sales and foreclosures, at least anytime soon, but that's why we're teaching you guys that stuff now, because we don't want to teach you about the market. I mean, of course, we're going to teach you a little bit about the market you're in, but we're also teaching you about the market that we might head to so that you can be prepared for that. And your business model can be in alignment with that. Okay, keep yourself focused. That's the whole idea of a 411, right? So for example, I have a relatively light schedule today, okay, which means that I have a high propensity to waste time, right? So I have to get extra clear with what my goals are. And that's why I have my 411 right in front of me today, because I know my tendency. If I don't have a commitment on the calendar, I will go talk to everyone in the office, right? That is not going to get me any closer to my goals. So this is staring me in the face all day because I need to book some appointments today. Does that make sense? And regularly evaluate your performance. Does that make sense? So how are you guys evaluating your performance? So a good technique, by the way, is to have an accountability partner, right? So for example, I think I've told you guys this before, but a while ago, when I was TL, I used to have an accountability partner who was the team leader in South Forsyth. And at the end of every single day, this is our commitment to each other. At the end of every single day, we texted each other saying how many appointments we set and how many people we hired. Because those are two of the most important things that a team leader is going to do, is grow the office, right? So how many appointments did we set and how many people did we hire? And I knew at the end, and she was really good. I mean, she still is really good, right? And so I knew that she was going to be texting me some big numbers at the end of every day. And so I didn't have the luxury of mailing it in. Does that make sense? So all day, every day, I'm sitting there looking at my schedule and looking at my to-do list and looking at my priorities and trying to figure out, hey, am I using my time as wisely as possible? Because I know that if she works harder than me, she may end up getting some of my stuff. Right? I don't want that. Right? The people that you think are your clients are your competition's prospects. Right? Not necessarily intentional, but let's say Ryan, wants to, work the Marietta area, and Michael, you also want to work the Marietta area. Is it possible that you guys could be pursuing the same neighborhood or even the same person? Is it possible, by no fault of Ryan's at all, one of your buddies, Michael, that you think that you have a relationship with might be somebody that's on Ryan's list of people to call today? Maybe they went to her open house. It's nothing personal. I know she's not doing it intentionally, but if she communicates with your clients better than you do, they're going to turn into her clients. Does that make sense? Okay, what have you guys heard in the second part of this?
Provide value or be forgotten.
Yep, that's straight to the point, isn't it? And you're more blunt than I am.
I heard an idea in there that how we have script partners. It might not be a bad idea to have an accountability partner to help you if in case, we've got everybody in PC can be accountable to each other. So if you want to pick an accountability partner, somebody that you know is going to hold you to it, that might not be a bad habit to get into.
No, not at all. I think Ebony, are you next to your computer? Ebony and Donna have been script practice partners for probably close to a year.
We have. Like right now, the next thing that we're working on when we get off this call is what we were talking about on Friday, which is standards. Like setting the standards. So that's our new, hey, that's something good that we can jump into. So that's the next thing that we're working on.
Can you just speak for just a moment on, look, that's a big sacrifice, right? You've had to, maybe, you've had to probably choose to do that instead of something you would have preferred to do many, many times over the course of the last year. But can you speak to what it's done for your mindset and what it's done for your confidence just for a second?
I feel like on the days that were extremely hard because business wasn't going the way that I felt it should be, regardless, whether it's me or the market, she kept me on task. Like it just kind of helped me know that tomorrow will be a better day. Keep practicing your craft, Ebony. Like all of this stuff that we're learning and we're doing, one day I'm going to get to implement it. And then when the fruition comes out of it, I'm going to be so thankful that her and we stuck to our guns and we kept doing the script practice, whether we had clients or not. It didn't matter. It's just like perfecting your craft. So it helped a lot. And then I got such a great friend. Like I adore Donna. Like everybody knows that. Like she is like one of my favorite people. And I didn't know coming into just doing script practice that I was going to find so much more. So we lean on each other daily.
I love that. I love that. And you probably poking each other throughout the day saying, hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, what do you think about this idea? Or,
every day,
something like that,
every
right?
day, every single day.
You mentioned one thing that I want to just expand on for 2 seconds, which is if you don't have an active agency agreement with a buyer or seller now, you're basically unemployed. Like your job is to go get that today. You see what I'm saying? Like if you don't have any clients that you're actively working, and for those that are brand new, it's not unheard of. You don't need to feel bad about it. You just got to do something about it, right? You got to say, hey, my job is to go meet people, because the more people I talk to, the more opportunity will be sitting in front of me. So if I don't currently have anyone to serve today, then I should either be finding that person, like Trent said, the lead generation and the prospecting, right? I should be practicing so that when they do show up from all my prospecting efforts, I'll be proficient at what I'm trying to say. right? And I'm spending time each day or each week going to visit property because eventually I'm going to have to do that with people. And I want to know what I'm saying. I want to know what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? So here's my question for you. We're getting close to the end of the month. And what I'd like for everyone to be able to tell me at any time, or Candace, anytime, is what are you intentionally focused on for the month of August that's going to take your business forward? It's going to take your business to the next level. So it might be database organization. It might be nailing your listing presentation. It may be becoming incredible at running comps or pricing. It may be nailing the buyer presentation and all the questions and, you know, choreography involved in that. So take a moment and or, you know, over the next couple of days, what are you going to get super intentional about in the month of August? And I'm going to give you one other one, which is very few people have updated their numbers for the third week in July. Again, if you earned a 0, just put a 0 there. That's what you earned. Okay. And what I'd like for you to do is we got 1 week left in the month of July. And we can either go into August with a ton of momentum because we really pushed ourselves, or we can kind of go into August perhaps the same way we went into July, with this kind of, whatever happens, happens. I'll show up to work and somebody else will tell me what to do today. I'll check my email. I'm sure there'll be something in there, right? Or you could start today and say, hey, what am I going to accomplish this week? And what victory am I going to have this week? Maybe it's a small victory. It doesn't make a difference. But what am I going to set out myself to do? And what am I going to do? Does that make sense? All right, you guys. Thank you. Thank you for your partnership. Thanks for all your efforts. You guys have a great week.
Thanks, Bill.